In this lecture, we will look at a very important concept in DAX measures, which is implicit versus explicit. We're going to write our first DAX measure, which is a simple sum function. And in the process of writing the sum function, you will also see the DAX syntax. So let's come to our Excel file and we will click on our pivot sheet. Let me sort all the fields A to Z and we will put region in rows and sales in value. As you can see, we have the values for all the four regions. Central is 500,000, East is 678,000, South is 391,000 and West is 725,000. Now this number, which is 2.29 million, is what we call an implicit measure. What that means is that this is a calculation that is being done by the pivot table only when we ask it to do so. For example, right now we are telling it to show me the sum of sales, so it is telling me 2.29 million. But if I right click and then I, let's say, summarize the values as an average, you notice the number goes away. Now, for some reason, if I wanted to access that number 2.29 million for another calculation, I'm not able to do that because the number is not being saved anywhere. It is just a result that is being shown to me when I'm plotting a pivot table with my region in the rows and my sales in the value. So what we want to do is to create what we call an explicit measure. That means that we are explicitly going to create the same results so that we are able to use that result as in when we wish. To do this, we click on Power Pivot. Then I want you to select Measures and New Measure. The box will open up. The measure name can be any name that you want to give, but I would request all of you to give it a descriptive name so that going forward, when we have written 10, 15, 20 different measures, you don't get confused. So we will call this total sales. I also like to put an underscore between the words, and I would recommend if you do that as well. Now, what is the formula that we want to write? We will write sum, open up parentheses, and now you notice that it is asking you to select the column name. But if you select sales like this, you notice that sales is a column. That's why it's coming in a bracket like this. When I click on check formula, you notice there are no errors in the formula. And when I press OK, you notice we get the same result like this. What is the difference? The first one is implicit and the second one is explicit. Now I know that at this point, a lot of you must be wondering, what really is the difference? I mean, you see the same result, correct? But you just have to work with me. For now, just understand that in the first column, if we wanted to use this number for any other calculation, we would not have been able to do so because this number has not really been calculated anywhere. It is just being displayed right now. On the other hand, the explicit measure has been calculated by us. That means I can use it in other calculations as well. Also, if you notice, there is a new field created with an FX symbol called total underscore sales, which has now become a part of your pivot table. I want to click on measure and click on manage measure. And you notice we have the formula here. We want to edit it. Now, even though we have got the result that we wanted, and you would think that everything is working correctly, this is not a good habit. What we are doing here is that since we are choosing a column name called sales, we are assuming that the sales column will only appear one time in our entire model, which means that right now we are working with an orders dataset, but what if tomorrow we have another orders dataset for a sister company? It is possible that that dataset will also have a orders table and a sales column in it. That is why we should always qualify our columns. What that means is that once I've written sum, after opening the parentheses, you will notice that there are two ways of selecting the sales column, either with the table name or without. Now, there are certain cases where it doesn't matter, like the one that I just showed you. But it is always considered a better habit to make it qualified. That means to write the table name, which is HMC, and sales, which is the column name. And if you notice carefully, it is showing you HMC, but if you remember, we had changed the table name into HMC underscore orders, right? So just so that we don't end up making any mistake, I'll just delete my pivot table. We will again create a pivot table, add to the data model, and do the same thing once again. Sales in value, we have our region in rows. We can see the same numbers. And then on Power Pivot, we will create a new measure. And the table name is HMC orders. Remember, we had changed the table name. That's why I did the entire process once again. The measure name is total underscore sales. And this would be equal to sum of sales, but do not select the unqualified column. Please make sure to select the qualified column, which is the table name, and then in left and right bracket, the column name. We check the formula, it says no errors in the formula, and we can see the result like this. All right. Now let's try to do the same thing on Power BI. So let's hop over to Power BI. As you can see, we already have the sales field here. And what we want to do is to create another field called total sales. To do this, we can click on new measure and same thing, total sales is equal to sum of HMC underscore orders sales. Now, when you press enter, it would seem that nothing is happening. There is a field created called total underscore sales, and you notice there is a calculator symbol here. That means that this is a field that we have created. In Excel, remember we had a FX symbol, but in Power BI, we have a calculator symbol here. Why do you not see the result? Simple, because we haven't created a table or a visualization. So let's create a column chart. I will put my region, sales, and total sales in it. And let's convert this into a clustered column chart. And without surprise, you would notice that it is giving us the same number, 725,725, 678, 678, like this. Excellent. So I know all of you have loads of questions. I'm sure you found it easy, but you must be wondering, why are we doing it? Why are we recreating something which is already there in the pivot table? But like I said earlier, you have made a very good stepping stone. So you have progressed. Now you understand how to create it. And now in the next 4 to 5 lectures, you will see what is the use of creating this.